Hello, welcome back to Today in Bad Theology. I hope you're having a good day, or as good a day as can be had under the circumstances. Today we're going to talk about Christianity and conspiracy theory, and how the two don't go together. Now, what prompted this discussion was a friend of mine, knowing about what I do on this channel and my work as a pastor, shared a post they had gotten from a friend of theirs featuring a letter to President Trump from Roman Catholic Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, who was the former papal nuncio or ambassador to the United States. This letter to President Trump claiming what can only be described as Christian conspiracy theories. So I will be talking about that letter specifically, but conspiracy theories in general, because we live in a world where anymore conspiracy theories are given far too much space. Heads of state share them as though they're real. And many people who, I'm not even going to say should, do know better, give conspiracy theories far too much room in what happens. So it's time for us to look at those. Now, this particular conspiracy theory appeared in a letter, as I said, that Carlo Vigano, Archbishop Vigano, wrote to President Trump. It was published publicly. Anybody who wants to can find a copy of it. Vigano claims that President Trump is needed at this time in the eternal battle between the children of light and the children of darkness. It's already either really stupid or intentionally provocative to use terms light and darkness during a time of racial unrest. Put that out there in case anybody missed that or are going to accuse me of missing that. No, I caught that one. Vigano argues that the children of darkness are part of a Masonic, satanic, deep state, deep church plot that orchestrated COVID-19 against Donald Trump, then orchestrated the protests in the United States when COVID-19 died down, and then finally condemned Donald Trump on his visit to St. John Paul II's shrine. Time was I would not have addressed such things at all, but in this day and age, it gets talked about. Conspiracy theories differ from regular constructed meaning. Meaning is constructed, and I use the term meaning in a technical sense there, and by that it means what we make of things. So the question, what does 55 on my speedometer mean? I'm actually asking, what does it indicate? 55 what? 55 miles an hour, 55 kilometers per hour. It's a difference between those things. But meaning is, what does 55 miles an hour mean to me? Which would be somewhat of an inane question. Perhaps. Maybe it's something you care about passionately. We have to construct meanings. The human brain appears to be wired in such a way that we must make sense of the world. And so we do that, but our meanings are always provisional. They're always subject to change. Conspiracy theories are a kind of meaning. They're something that human beings construct, but they've gone haywire. And there are two things that really stand out about a conspiracy theory. One is its points, often far more than necessary to make the argument, are usually easily refutable. The second is that for as convoluted as it can be, the conspiracy theory's results are usually too simple. So, for example, if I were to argue that Donald J. Trump is hosting his first campaign rally since before the pandemic on June 19th in Tulsa, Oklahoma, because this is meant as the loudest dog whistle on earth, since Tulsa, Oklahoma was the site of the Tulsa Race Massacre, and June 19th is Juneteenth, which is traditionally the day when Black Americans mark the end of slavery, that would be a statement of meaning. I am constructing a meaning, and I am saying, I interpret this event as being racially provocative because people in the administration have to understand what Tulsa is and what June 19th is and they're doing this on purpose. Conspiracy theory would be if I were to go say that actually I never heard about the Tulsa race massacre prior to people complaining about this, therefore it must not have happened. And so people have been planting this in scholarly publications for years just to get up to this point so they can try to discredit President Trump. And so really what we need to do is we need to go to the rally without a face mask to protect ourselves from the pandemic and possibly attack some black people on the way there. There's a difference. The former, an attempt at constructing meaning, is rooted in reality. And just because you may not have known pieces of that story, it's real. The latter argues for things that simply don't make any sense. Why on earth would anybody go to such trouble to try to plant information about the Tulsa race massacre just to discredit any future president who might come along? That makes no sense. Easily refutable, and the solution it comes up with is too simple. Just do what I wanted to do anyways. Vigano's letter is a great example of when you get conspiracy theory over against meaning. It is far too complicated. Yes, there is a biblical notion that there are children of Satan. Jesus uses that term in the Gospel of John. But the church generally doesn't talk about this sort of thing. It tends to talk about every human being created in the image of God, but having sin as well. Theologians differ over what that means, but you don't have that simple distinction. That this is somehow a Masonic plot. The deep state. Why would I even need to refute this? I'm sorry Sean Hannity thinks the thing is real. My entire family's made up of civil servants. We would have noticed the thing by now. The deep church. I've run up against church bureaucracy in my life. All right, I've run up against people who mean well, and I've run up against people who don't. But I've never run up against anything that is actively trying to advocate for Satan's reign on this earth, and certainly as part of some satanic Masonic plot against Donald Trump. The idea that this, COVID-19 was orchestrated. I know people want to think all kinds of crazy things during this time, but there's simply no evidence. It looks just like everything else. It leaps from an animal to a human being, and then it passes from human to human. We've seen this happen with many diseases. And that the protests are orchestrated. The protests are organized. Many of the protest leaders have been organizing for a long time, demanding racial justice. But they weren't organized as part of a long, long plot to bring down Donald Trump. They're organized as part of a long, long campaign to end white supremacy. That's a difference. So the pieces are too many and easily refuted. The other part of Vigano's letter that makes it conspiracy theory is how easily it explains everything, or rather, how simple its solution is. The solution being the people who are protesting against police brutality and who are demanding equal rights for dark-skinned people are wrong. Kids are playing in the hallway there. The idea is that it simply explains that these people are wrong and you can do whatever you want to them. You must stop them. And that, in this case, this letter claiming Donald Trump is on the side of good, and therefore whatever he's doing must be good and we must support it. These are extremely simple answers. And whenever you can easily vilify a certain group of people and easily turn another one into your messiah, you've got a really problematic explanation. Now, some of you may argue, isn't Christianity itself prone to conspiracy theory? Well, Christianity is an attempt to explain. It is an attempt to construct meaning out of the world. But I would argue Christianity, and I can't speak for other religions because I don't know them as well, but I can argue that Christianity, when it's functioning properly, should be breaking down presumed meanings. Two great biblical examples of this. One in the Old Testament, the book of Job. Job is afflicted with horrible, horrible things. He does not know why. And he curses God and the day he was born. And his friends show up, and his friends are horrible friends. Instead of just dwelling with Job in his misery, they begin trying to explain, this must have been because you sinned. You must be wicked in your heart. You must have done something wrong. And they attempt to explain the situation and help Job come up with meaning. But Job knows he didn't do anything wrong. And as impossible as that is, in the story it's true. Job has not done anything. Job keeps demanding meaning until finally God famously speaks out of the whirlwind and says, not on this one. You're not going to get an explanation, I'm sorry. It's a powerful book to have in the Bible. It's an important reminder. For all of our theology, it ultimately is speaking back to the whirlwind and gets the answer, nice try. New Testament example that comes to my mind is from Paul's letter to the Philippians. Paul describes his former life in the faith. Paul has believed in God his whole life. He believed in God differently prior to Jesus. Paul says, if anyone claims they're a great Jew, I'm better than they are. Paul says that he knows he's of the tribe of Benjamin, he's a Pharisee, he's blameless under the law. He was actually a persecutor of Christians. He was so zealous to defend the faith. And then one day he realized that the God he worshipped was also Jesus Christ crucified. And Paul's whole system of meaning had to be reevaluated. Now that's not a conspiracy theory. Both of these things have one step, which is God saying no. And the solution, instead of being extremely simple, here are the bad guys, go smash them, or just keep doing what you're doing and everyone should support you, the answer is very complicated and frightening. In Job's case, no explanation. And in Paul's case, what do I do? I follow Jesus and I don't know what that means. Good theology generally doesn't produce really simple answers. Conspiracy theories do. Good theology can be complicated, but good theology can also be explained and defended. Conspiracy theories depend on points that usually are very easily refuted. Carlo Vigano's letter to Donald Trump is Christianity as conspiracy theory. It's bad theology. Well, that's all I've got for now. You're welcome to share your thoughts on that. If you have any ideas or things you'd like me to discuss, you can drop those in the comments below. Please don't forget to subscribe and like. I will see you next time. Thank you.